Just like WePay had a competitive edge because of DevOps, other companies are gaining their competitive edge and market share by focusing on making sure that all their digital properties work together. That could be e-commerce, that could be their back-end CRM system, that could be inventory, really the entire sort of spectrum of capabilities. And if you're one of the world's fastest growing online retailers, that's a really critical thing. So in terms of solving for digital, we have a case study today about a company called Alex and Ani, and I want to show you a video just to introduce that company and tell you what they're all about.
We're a multi-channel retailer, and we're actually the fastest growing retailer in the world. We're known for a very simple product. It's an expandable wire bangle, and for the most part, all of our SKUs have individual charms that are affixed to the bangle itself. So I like game-changing scenarios. What excites me is the centralization of digital. This was a move to not only build the .com business, but to centralize customer information regardless of the channel, product information, the competitive information, all the customer service related, the social listening type of data, and make intelligent decisions. With the .com business, the growth was 11,000%, I think, from the date we launched our website. So the number in terms of revenue that we hit in 2012 was significant. It was $80 million. 2013, $230 million. The biggest areas of opportunity for us are to take advantage of peak moments. Peak moments for us, 2013, Cyber Monday, all the way up to Christmas. 2014, Super Bowl. 28,000 people going to the site at one time. What happens? Every second costs money, so maximizing uptime. That was one of our biggest requirements in doing diligence with hosting providers. As the fastest growing retailer in the world, imagine how quickly our website presence is growing. So scale was critical. We selected an e-commerce platform in the early days, and we're still on that platform. It's an open source platform called Magento. So that hosting environment required to allow Magento to serve the appropriate expected experience regardless of the device. It's obviously a sophisticated arrangement, and I don't think you find any brand of our size that would ever consider doing anything like that in-house.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Ryan Bonificino, who is the VP of Digital Strategy at Alex and Ani, and Kyle Metcalf, who leads up Rackspace Digital. Take it away, guys.
Thank you. So, great video, and as you guys can see, Ryan and Alex and Ani have a very cool story to share. And so, I'm going to ask him some questions about the journey and his role. So, let's kick it off with telling us a little bit more about your specific role and how you ended up at Alex and Ani.
Sure. Wonderful to be here, everybody. I'm a New Yorker. I've always been in New York, but I've spent a lot of time here geeking out outside of retail. I don't have a retail background whatsoever. I actually have a unique blend of finance and marketing. In the early to mid 2000s, I was out here representing some venture capital funds and taking them out to investors, and ultimately ended up working on Wall Street in the hedge fund business, taking what we call the more liquid opportunities, traders, quantitative traders, little hedge funds out to the same types of investors who were investing in emerging technology. And retail for me was an accident. I was privileged enough to meet a wonderful designer, Carolyn Rafaelian.
A good accident?
A fantastic accident, a fanatical accident. In Newport, Rhode Island, not Newport, California. And that was the birth of this version of Alex and Ani, which is named after her first two children. And I know that we've referenced pivots all throughout the morning, and I made a pivot myself and ended up jumping on board and becoming an operator within this company that you saw in the wonderful video.
So what is your day-to-day like? What are your responsibilities?
So I oversee a business unit that we call Digital, Alex and Ani Digital, or Digital Strategy. And it's the e-commerce P&L, direct to consumer, and it's the shared services that the internal team, Digital, provides to the rest of the company. So we're a true multi-channel retailer, meaning we have our own physical network of brick and mortar stores. We're in the mid-40s right now, scattered throughout the country, but a heavy concentration in New England. We have obviously our own .com business, and we also have our wholesale accounts. So we've got a network of close to 1,500 or so partners that sell us in their stores as well as their online properties. So, at the top it's the Nordstrom.com and Bloomingdale's.com, as well as I think at this stage we're in every location in the country for both of those partners, all the way down to sort of the independent, the ma and pa gift shops of the world. Properties, resort properties like Disney. We're the fourth brand, I think, in the history of Disney to partner up in a co-branded manner where we're actually sold on all their properties. We call that the power of the mouse. We actually make the Mickey Mouse charm and the castle and all those fun things. But it really speaks to the power of the company and the partnerships that we do have. So when we partner with Disney, somebody's discovering us because they're at a park and they're getting the Mickey Mouse charm, but they're discovering the brand at the same time, and they're coming back to repeat purchase. So our wholesale relationships really drive the growth of our direct-to-consumer business.
The video gave us a great high-level overview of the company. There's a lot more to it, and what else would you share with the audience here about the company? What do we need to know?
So when you look at the products that we create, we own the category, and the category is very simple. It's the bracelet category within overall accessories, and the end wearers of the products. I know that I think we're like 99% male in this room, but they're called bangles. We create and distribute these products in one little state. It's our hub. It's headquarters, and it's Rhode Island, the Greater Providence area. And at one point, this little town called Cranston was the world's capital for what it is that we do, which we define, or used to be defined, the industry defined it as costume jewelry production, and it's now evolved to trend or fashion jewelry. The buyers have changed the way that they're naming the category. So trend jewelry, and at one point we were Rhode Island. I shouldn't say we. Was about 80% of the output in the world. So your big designers would come to Rhode Island to get their jewelry done, private label, and stamp their name on it and sell it to their end consumer. So we're doing a lot to revive the jewelry production industry within the state of Rhode Island, as well as support all these either brand new or the revival of factories located within the state. So we are, as I mentioned, we're the category killer. We're expanding, but we're still focusing on meeting demand with this core product. So when you look at the product, you saw some collections on the video there. But the core product is very simple. It's an expandable wire that has a charm for the most part with all of our SKUs affixed to the product. And it's a stackable concept. So you're stacking on a SKU basis up your arm. So it could be, the Disney and your initial and your sorority and your favorite NFL team, favorite MLB team, you name it. And that's what it is that we do.
Do you wear bangles?
It's funny you ask that. I have in the past.
It's okay.
I'm a great male model for these bangles.
Yeah.
But we are. I think 1%. Ran the math on 1% of the end wearers of the products, and the charmless bangles. We actually have sizable market share for all the guys that wear bangles.
Good deal. So you guys have seen just tremendous growth in a relatively short period of time. Tell us a little bit about that growth and what's really driving it.
So I look at the discovery that takes place within our core customer. We're a highly giftable product, and we're at a very low average unit price. And what that does for us is it allows us to sort of open up these fixed confines of those that we would traditionally eliminate being in the luxury goods business. And that sounds a little strange to hear an executive from a company that sells $28 bangles to say luxury goods. But we have the highest repeat purchase rate within our vertical, within the accessories or the bracelet business. And that's from our data. It's from data we comp against public companies. And it's data from our partners, so the Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom type names that I mentioned earlier.
And why is that?
I think it's, there's a complex formula that I can't fill in the blanks with the formula. I can't put it in a spreadsheet and say, here's why we're successful. But I look at the addictive nature of the product. So discovery happens on an unbranded in an unbranded manner. So somebody's looking for, say, a New York, they type in Google New York Yankees gifts, and maybe we'll buy that keyword over time. We understand that we can convert on that keyword alone. The gift giving experience is not just here's your Yankees product. It's here's what a sport that you love. You're supporting it. By the way, it's from Alex and Ani. Here's what they stand for. So we give a lot more meaning to that gift giver, and that's how a lot of discovery happen, whether it's from the direct side of our business or the wholesale. And given the repeat purchase rate, I think it's between three and four times the next closest competitor, depending on the time of year. They're coming back, and they're actually spending more the more they come back due to the giftable nature of the product. So they're coming back, even the ones that are converting from a gift recipient, they're purchasing for themselves again to add to their collection, and they're also buying for others. So that's from the qualitative side of what we've attempted to study to answer that question.
Talking about expanding on your brand, something that most companies, I read somewhere, 88% of companies, enterprises today are trying to rebuild or build a stronger digital presence. You guys, I believe, have accomplished that. Can you kind of walk us through the process from when you came on board to how you guys established your digital brand?
Sure. So we've always had the same approach, and when you commit to building a digital team, you can't be well. First of all, you should not come from just one background like retail. I think that's one of our strongest suits, strongest perspectives, is that we're not biased to any one way of doing things. We're very open. You got to have that commitment to innovation because there's no one brand that we could point to that's doing it right. So you got to be open because it's not as easy as buying a big marketing cloud and saying let's put it in and all of a sudden we've got a digital unit. A lot of brands talk about this concept of omnichannel, and I'm fundamentally opposed to the use of the word omnichannel as it relates to our brand or any brand for that matter, because it's usually referenced when blending the offline and online business within the direct channel, the direct-to-consumer channel. So it's conceptually it's very simple to say here's my point of sale data, here are my customers, here's my online data. Let's blend them together. One step further, let's connect some products. Let's try to see, from a distribution perspective, where it makes sense to do, order online, pick up in store, that fun order management argument that goes into this move to omnichannel. But we're missing a big piece of that, which is wholesale. As I mentioned, for us, is big because of discovery, as well as the capital that any one brand is putting into the business of discovery, whether it's our own marketing dollars at work or it's a co-op relationship that we may have with any one vendor. So to do a full journey from discovering somebody on the West Coast outside of our core market, we have 2 stores here in San Fran. I just paid for my trip. Somebody discovering us here in San Fran because of a partner, and that gift, a partner as in Nordstrom Bloomingdale's, that gift to be given to whoever, the daughter or the wife in that guy's family, that new customer who's never spent a dime with us, now becoming a repeat customer buying direct, well, that's a result of what we spent to get that guy in the store, and that could be a third-party store. So that full spectrum, that whole journey is omnichannel to me. But getting back to your question, so Alex and Ani Digital, it starts with a centralization of data, so customer data, regardless of discovery, centralization of behavioral data. So this would be, something as simple as, you get a bunch of cookies from your .com presence, and you also have the ability to put, let's call it, a pixel in an email that goes out from your point of sale systems when you send an e-receipt. What happens when that device goes back home to the household and connects, the iPhone connects to Wi-Fi? How are you creating relationships in a way that will allow you to measure that and then give credit to wherever that relationship came from. So it starts there, and it's a long journey, but it's not complex. We're not the first ones to think of, selling products throughout multiple channels and centralizing data. It's just that a lot of retailers, this is our advantage, a lot of retailers have legacy systems, and being able to, to integrate in a way that doesn't reference, there's no one instance of a right way to do it. There's no roadmap. That's the complexity and the reason that I think is our competitive advantage. We've got a blank slate.
So with that advantage comes what any brand would love to have, which is a high volume of traffic to the site. Usually, that volume of traffic is somewhat unpredictable. What are some of the steps that you guys have taken to address that?
Sure. So half of the business is predictable in that, we're selling throughout different seasons. Campaigns are linked to those seasons. So to push people onto, graduation or, back to school, the really predictable, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. So that's pretty easy to manage if you're a company that's growing relatively stable. We're not. We're growing like a rocket ship. So we have to overassume and add in, the crazy outliers on top of that. So, when Oprah says on air, without warning, she loves Alex Nani, what does that mean for our customer experience? The good old stat out there, every page, every 1 second you add to page load time, conversion rate decreases by a couple percentage points, which is a couple bips on your overall, which seriously impacts your business within that moment, within those sessions, but also impacts your new lifetime value of that new relationship.
So there's a tremendous amount of technology, applications, platforms, et cetera, that goes into having a successful online presence. What are some of the applications that you guys are currently utilizing, and what's your process for evaluating these applications and technologies?
Sure. So I'll start with the process. I think the process is very important, also makes us a little unique. So I have a venture background, as I mentioned. I also have an investment banking background from a hedge fund perspective. And I know that doesn't mean a lot to many people in the room because you're all focused on tech. But what I want to say from the venture side is, we have modeled our diligence process just like any of the, the top 10 names out here, the Sequoia Capitals and Index and Andreessen Horowitz, those guys. They all have a unique process that really gets down to reverse engineering the market. And we start by looking at market leaders. Who's the best at what it is that we're looking for? Who are the other, in our case, retailers or multi-channel retailers using that provider, trying to understand why they're using that provider, and looking at the origination of the relationship. How did it start? Also, who's winning market share? So who's making a retailer switch from one provider to another? So that's kind of fundamental to the way we get what we'll call vendor relationships into the pipeline for review. It all comes down to prioritization. So we want to do 100 different things. How do we know from a project management perspective internally, even with outside service providers, how do we know how many things we can handle as a company growing at this rate? So that's one side of it. The other side of it, and this is a little unique to the way that I run my team, within digital, we've obviously got e-commerce, we've got digital marketing analytics, we've got content marketing and customer engagement, social media, all within one place, ad operations and so on. So everybody on my team, and that's a team of 20 or so, they're assigned one public company, one publicly traded multi-channel retailer to follow. That's the investment banking side kicking in. So everybody has and provides coverage to that one company. And we've strategically identified the companies that sort of the big brother, big sister versions of ourselves, who we want to be in 3-5 years, the lifestyle brands, the Lululemon and Michael Kors and Ralph Lauren, Under Armour, and so on. And they provide updates on not only what's happening on their earnings calls or in their press releases, but to geek out a little bit, they're doing the Control U on the source code, and they're looking at tags, and they're trying to find out who uses what. And over time, they're tracking changes. So to do a quick search, a peek under the hood, who uses what data management platform, well, that's a relatively easy thing to do if you're trained, if you've got a procedure. So the technical side of the digital team, and that's, it's not IT. These are marketing technologists that understand at the surface how to take a peek under the hood and put it in a spreadsheet and watch for changes over time. So they're assigned one publicly traded retailer, as I mentioned, and they're also assigned one tech company that we may have on our radar as a result of the, quote, peeking under the hood.
When did you start with Alex Nani?
I met our designer in 2009, and I was in the middle of hedge fund land, traveling all over the world, and kind of stopping in New York to unpack and repack and take a power nap. Met her in 2009, and she had one store in Newport, Rhode Island, and it was a profitable store that she's been profitable since day one. She had a great relationship, a family relationship. Her father was in the manufacturing business of costume jewelry, so he was producing her line. And looking at the data initially, the repeat purchase rate, what they call the RFM, repeat or recency and frequency monetary value, all the CMO type metrics combined with a unique one I wasn't familiar with at the time, but sales per square foot. This one location had more sales per square foot than anybody in the category, and even the best stores are in between what I would say, well, I think what Wall Street says is number one. Apple's number one, sales per square foot. And Tiffany is number two. It's half that of Apple. I think those statistics are still comparable. So she was in between these two. And we saw a handful of us that advised her in the early days saw an opportunity. And we all committed over the course of the next year and a half. So kind of halfway through 2010.
So let's say you can hop in a time machine and go back and visit young Ryan in 2010, who's about to go on this wild ride. Thinking about what you've learned across these years in building this presence and all these technologies that you've worked with, what advice would you have for yourself?
Grow a beard. If you saw my video, and now I'm attempting this beard thing. And I'll tell you, and it sounds silly, but if it saves you 5 minutes a day, add it up. Like, what can you accomplish in this crazy world?
Well, so from a technology and learning standpoint about the business, what advice would you have for young Ryan?
So, to look at emerging technologies earlier on, to understand how the technologies of the future, you're gonna identify 100 different things, and 99 of them are not going to make sense for your brand, but to put them on your radar and to build, no matter how visible you are as a retailer. We were lucky enough to have this crazy growth from, she had a couple million with the one store, then it jumped up to, 14 and 80 million and then $230 million last year. We were on the radar of, the fastest growing companies. We had everybody out here, every tech provider you could imagine calling us, trying to sell us shit. Excuse me. And we oftentimes said no, and I would have said yes earlier on. And so we started saying yes in 2011, early 2012, and we started creating this knowledge base. So to categorize and classify, understanding, the tough questions that you have to ask just to screen them. And I would have built the sort of the army of interns earlier on to screen and build the knowledge base. And that might be a little unique for us as a company, given our proximity, our headquarters. Rhode Island is if you guys should know this, everybody in the room, it's the smallest state in the country, and it's not necessarily known for its tech talent, nor is it known for its retail talent. So to be able to provide this knowledge base and factor it into the learnings that sort of the onboarding process, when new members of the team join the digital team at least, they have that head start. And building that into the way you're screening and evaluating and understanding the risk associated with that as well. So understanding, who's opening up risk in terms of, privacy, customer data. If you've got a venture-backed company, if it's a first round, you can bet that they're going to make decisions to put more money, given the 50-50 split, they're going to put more money into sales and proof of concepts as opposed to, really building product the right way, secure enough for, enterprise level names to say, yeah, let's go. So understand, when you're building your knowledge base, the risks as well.
The CMO-CIO relationship is a very hot topic right now. The benefits and the challenges that are there. What are your thoughts on how that relationship should work?
They need to be best friends. I mean, there's no other way about it. So oftentimes you'll have, and I can speak to fashion now that I'm in fashion. This is cool. You guys are actually you're all wearing like t-shirts and jeans, and I'm up here in a suit.
You look great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You look great as well.
Thank you.
That's not flirting. So, understanding within fashion, everybody's got an opinion. And your opinion makers are usually on the marketing side. Everybody has an opinion about the brand, the way that the brand should look and feel, and the fluffy stuff, as I call it. So the color palettes and the mood boards and the runways and the models, and that's all fun, but we got serious work to do. So while I don't want to limit creativity, creativity should be owned by your CMO. When your crew like us, this omni-channel, the digital crew in the middle, we're providing support to marketing. So what does that mean for creativity? Well, we're making them more comfortable, and we're honing in on their instinct to make those decisions. So we're giving them data, giving them the results of an A/B test or a multivariate test to help them or to support all the options that are on the table. So that's one side. The technical side, for the longest time, your technical side of your operation within retail was just based on support. And we've had the CIO title now for some years, and it's like your tech guy all of a sudden gets a personality and has a seat at the table, and that's great. I'm a big believer in that. But if you're battling the CMO, or you're having to invest in marketing conversations as a CIO, what does that mean for what's not getting done on the technical side? So you got to have the right balance. You've got to completely and blindly trust each other. It doesn't work, and your competitors will take market share from you if you're wasting your time battling with one another. So forget about credit. Forget about where budget dollars, who pays for on-premise. Yeah, that makes sense for IT. Cloud, I don't know where that sits on a P&L level. For us, it's a little different because we have a centralized approach that includes a P&L. So marketing is not battling for technology, and we're all supporting one another. So that's my stance on it as it relates to fashion within retail. I think that as you evolve or grow outside of, get more, CPG, for example, automotive, there is less creativity that's required. There's less, fluffy stuff, and a lot more of the, let the agencies make the decisions. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because everybody's competing for, it sounds like everybody's competing for ultimately one job. But if you look at all the CMOs out there, who are the ones that are increasing their tenure at their respective companies? So it's the data-driven CMOs, right? The ones that are maybe getting support from a CIO, or totally stealing the show by not having, you get your CTO, and you've got your CMO that's trying to be a CIO at the same time, and that can also hurt a company as well.
So final question, and thank you for all your insight. What's next for Ryan, and what's next for Alex and Ani?
So, I'll speak to the company because I'm a very nomadic and spontaneous guy, and I know that I'm flying out at 9:30 tonight. But I am committed to the company and making sure that we get to that next level where subject matter experts exist within the company that are able to scale. The company itself, we're known for the one product or the one category, the wire bangles. And as we uncover more and more qualitative and quantitative research, we're finding that our customers are not showing up because of the category. They're showing up because of meaning and what we stand for. So we've got a huge commitment to American manufacturing, to the jobs associated with the manufacturing base in Rhode Island. We've got a huge commitment to being sustainable and eco-friendly, and also a huge commitment to charity. We just crossed the $10 million mark for donations to charity with our Charity by Design division. So understanding those three things and the core of our business based on personalization, we're all chasing after personalization from a digital perspective. But in our case, we're catching up to what the company was really founded for. So what's next is product extensions. So you'll see us evolve beyond the bangle to lifestyle, home goods. We've successfully piloted and launched things like candles, room spray, lotions, evolving into men's. So think, getting back to your bangle question, right? It's the sort of the more leather type products, the more masculine products, but not deviating too far from symbology.
Beyond the bangle?
Beyond the bangle.
You can use that. You can have that.
We're going to hashtag Beyond the Bangle. Whoever hashtags Beyond the Bangle, I will follow you.
There you go. All right, well, that's time for us. Ryan, thank you very much for joining us here and giving us some insight into the business. I think John's going to come up and give us some info on a very important session, which is lunch.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.